You're listening to Conquering Retirement with Annuity FYI. Real strategies, real stories, no sales pitch. Join Tom Hamlin and his expert guests so that you can make smarter moves faster. Hit that subscribe button and let's conquer retirement together. All right. Welcome, everyone. Thanks for joining me again today.
Hi there.
I have Tom
Hi,
Hamlin here. Tom is, again, he is an expert in all things S with 2 vertical lines. He's been in the industry for 35 years. He is an expert in annuities and has, a little bit more about his background, which I haven't shared, is that he is actually has his own broker dealer and his own RIA. So he when I say that he is an expert with, in all things money, I do mean that in the sense that he's done everything he can to really help people in all facets of finance. And then we have
Thanks,
Brian Hamlin. Yeah, absolutely. We have Brian Hamlin here. Brian has been in the industry for several years now. While being here, he's really picked up quite a bit. It doesn't hurt to have Tom as his father, but it's kind of showing him the ropes. But Brian, you've really become an expert. Yeah, you've really become an expert. So I'm really glad to have you here.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
I'm excited to be here.
Yeah. So thanks for joining us today on Conquering Retirement with Annuity FYI. Tom,
Sure.
And Brian, we actually had a little bit of background talk on this one the other day, and it's becoming more common as our clients are aging. But one thing we wanted to talk about today was cognitive decline, and financial safeguards. Planning for decision making, like how does one do that with the support of their family or loved ones or friends, while also not giving up their independence or autonomy?
Hammy, go for it.
Well, okay, I'd be happy to.
As soon as you mess up, I'll take over.
When we're talking about something like this, kind of cognitive decline, kind of the more, I'd say, classic examples, maybe something like Alzheimer's or dementia. That's what a lot of people go to, but it doesn't have to be that at all. This can result from things like normal aging or just sleep disorders, nutrition deficiencies. I've actually heard several stories about environmental factors playing into this. Lifestyle factors can play into it. So there's many reasons this can happen, and generally speaking, it's a normal part of aging at some point or another. But what can we do about it, despite the why? I would say the most important thing, and Tom, you can let me know if you agree with this, is just having open and honest conversations. It helps to have a trusted person that you can talk about with these things proactively. The key word is proactively. When you're doing this in a reactive manner, it can be challenging. But you just want to make sure kind of everyone is prepared in the event that this were to happen. Hopefully it doesn't, but you want to make sure you have all your ducks in a row, not eggs in a row. I almost said that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and Tom, when Brian's speaking, it actually makes me think of a client that you and I know very well that we work with all the time. It reminds me of how much work we've had to do with people that care about him as he's aged. He's been one of your clients for 30 years or so, it seems like.
Over.
And yeah, and it, like I said, he's just one example of many of how we have to work with outside people who care about him in order to make sure, his needs are being met, his goals are being achieved, and his goals will continue to be achieved as he gets older.
A good kind of question to ask yourself is, if you were in a situation where you could not effectively communicate your goals, your wishes, your needs yourself, would they be able to be carried out? If the answer is yes, then you probably are, on a great track to making sure that you're kind of protected and can sustain, autonomy as much as possible in the event of something like cognitive decline. But if you weren't able to communicate these goals, your wishes, your needs, if you weren't able to communicate them and they wouldn't be carried out, well, that's something that, there might be some work to do.
So cognitive decline is becoming more and more prevalent as people live longer. If you want to go back in time to 1937, when we started Social Security in this country, the average life expectancy was 61 and a half, I believe, for a male and 64 for a female. And you couldn't start Social Security until 65. And that's another topic for another day, but that's why Social Security is failing, because there's too many people in the cart, not enough people pulling it, so to speak. But people are living significantly longer. If the average life expectancy of a male is 78 and a female 79 and a half, different versions or varying versions of that. Sometimes it says 80 for a female and 77 for a male, but that's in the ballpark. When you hit 65, they add about 3 years to your age as for each male and female. And with each passing year beyond the age of 65, the chances of contracting, not as if you catch it, but being hit with dementia or Alzheimer's increases exponentially. I believe there's over 7 million people. I just looked that up. You might have seen my eyes to the right. 7.2 million people right now in the United States that have dementia or Alzheimer's, and memory care facilities are prevalent all over the country now. Thank God that there's people there that can get help, the kind of help that they need, because it's debilitating for a family to try to care for somebody with memory issues. The memory care facilities are great. You need to be prepared. Everybody needs a checklist. Everybody needs to have an audit list of the things that could happen, the what ifs in life. You just need to make certain that you have this list of things that you would cover. Inside of a trust, you always need to make certain that you have a successor trustee in case you become incapacitated. Somebody who's capable, that can take over for you in the event that you need help. You also need to have an emergency fund for that, and preferably insurance, because memory care facilities and that kind of specialized care easily runs $10,000, in some cases $20,000 per month, depending upon the facility.
Depending upon the facility, if I can jump in here really quick, Nationwide has a lot of great data on this. The national average, it's a big range because there's so many different types of facilities, but national average per year, 40,000 to 110,000. Now that's going to swing greatly depending on which state we're looking at. Florida, 35,000 to 124. Okay, so a little bit wider than the national average. California, 46,000 to 136,000. Alaska, you guys ready for Alaska?
Mm-hmm.
42,000 to $361,000 per year for long-term care. That's how big the average is over there. I imagine because it's maybe challenging to get certain resources. Kind of that far.
If I can chime in, Tom, you mentioned insurance and having insurance for those needs, and Brian said long-term care. Some people might not understand that connection. So what you're saying is there is insurance policies specifically designed to provide long-term care in the event something happens where you need to go. Is it just if you go into a facility, or is it for any needs? What does that look like?
It runs great question. It runs a gamut, Meg. It's from home care to memory care facilities and specialized care, assisted living. There are policies that will specifically exclude memory issues. So you really need to review your policy, make certain that you have all of the inclusions and very few exclusions, and make certain that you're covered, because the last thing you want to do, it's Murphy's Law. I mean, if you don't have it, you increase the likelihood that something will happen in this case. Hate to say it. So the best defense is a strong offense. Be proactive in this area. Make certain that you have a checklist. I would encourage everybody to create a checklist. We actually have one at Annuity FYI in Somerset that we are happy to send anyone who contacts us, which is a master checklist for all the things that you should be doing in retirement. And you need to be able to tick at least most of those boxes. They don't always apply to everyone.
Yep.
For example, if somebody has a goal of bouncing their last check, they don't need to worry about legacy insurance planning. But for things like this, you absolutely need to make certain that you're covered. More than 50% of the population will have an issue where they need long-term care, and that number is increasing, sadly.
The number for paid long-term care is actually, it's right on there. It's 48% is the percentage of people turning 65 who will need some type of paid long-term care in their life. The percentage of people who develop a severe long-term care need, so, that would probably include home care. It's not a type of paid long-term care. They have someone taking care of them, maybe a family member, friend. 70%. 70%.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
one
again,
other thing, Tom, though, you also brought up a trust. I have a question. Does everyone need a trust? And then also, I know that some people use a power of attorney. If you wanted to maybe expand upon that in terms of how that applies. Most people think power of attorney medical decisions, but there's also another probably larger
back when I got in this
position.
business, the unified credit exclusion ratio was $600,000, and that was per spouse. And if you died without a trust, then one of the spouses died, their 600,000 exclusion went with them. So if you didn't have a properly structured trust, the only way you got the other 600,000 was if you died in the same auto or plane crash, God forbid. So you needed a trust for that. Nowadays, you basically have a $30 million exclusion federally from estate taxes. So a trust for that purpose is not as necessary, although it varies by state. Oregon's not a good state for estate taxes. Anything above $1 million of estate is subject to estate tax. Um, but having a trust is just really critical, in my opinion, because it ties up all the proverbial loose ends that we all have in our lives. And it gives you peace of mind to know that when you do pass away, or as in this episode here, you lose your memory and you're not cognitively able to take care of these issues proactively before you die, you're not leaving a mess for your family. Okay. And we know situations personally where it has broke many families, and you just want to be prepared. So I
Hmm.
do advocate for trusts. There's a running joke among attorneys that probating estates is their proverbial annuity. And that's because people die and they contact the attorney on the will. And that to me is ridiculous. You could just wrap it within the confines of a trust and you can protect your family and yourself from probate and from contestability, anybody, contesting your estate and things like what we're talking about here today. And so everybody really with any meaningful, sizable estate should have a properly structured trust, whether it's a single trust for both husband and wife with A and B marital clauses, or it's separate A and B trusts, which is actually a little bit neater to do it that way.
Great.
There's another classic saying, everyone has an estate plan. It's either the one you set up for yourself or the one the government has for you. Because if you pass away, then, and this stuff isn't taken care of, your assets are going to go up to probate and, that's going to take a certain expense and, it's not the most efficient thing sometimes. So these are definitely things you want to
All the
plan
time.
for.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's also kind of lower hanging fruit. Having that trusted individual, making sure your payments are automated. I mean, that's for, I'd like to think I'm not cognitively declining. Maybe one of you would tell me otherwise, but I have all my payments automated. I mean, I don't want to worry about that in any kind of stage of life, but I would say definitely at that point, you want to make sure that you don't have to worry about your bills being paid or not. Are your passwords recorded? Do you have access to all of your financial documents and are able to review them?
Are you reading off of our Somerset Annuity FYI checklist that we'll provide people if they contact us? Because it
I,
sounds like it.
I know it by heart. I know
Yeah.
it by
Okay,
heart.
good
Yeah,
job.
and
It's our preamble.
yeah, you're listing off a few things, and we're running a little short on time here. So I wanted to just go back because I do think this is an important piece, is the power of attorney and what that looks like, both for medical decisions and financial decisions. I know that we work with them on a regular basis. Even when I personally work with power of attorneys on behalf of you, Tom, for even when people are still in significantly good health. It's just in preparation for when someone might be declining.
Right.
So do you want to
Yeah.
expand upon that a little bit?
Well, you
The
just
necessity
touched
for
on
it,
it.
perhaps. Yeah.
It's the art of war. Every battle that was ever won was won before it was fought. That's Sun Tzu, and that's 5,000 years old or whatever it is, and so it's a timeless principle. And so it's are you being proactive? That's my pool man, or reactive to situations. You always want to be proactive whenever possible, so that you're ready. And usually, when you're ready, not always, but most of the time when you're prepared, fewer bad things happen because you're ready. And so powers of attorney and successor trustees and all of the healthcare uh, implements that you put into a trust, it's all part of what a properly structured trust document should be. And it's very simple. It's just language, and it's just notarized language. It's documented and it's certified, and it protects you and it protects your family, and it limits the um the hardship to the family. Because if you're cognitively impaired, you're not going to remember or really know for more than just a moment how much stress you're causing, whether it be just physical, financial, but usually it's both.
And one thing I can also say is it's also good in any sense if you have a lot invested to have a business card or contact information for your financial planner, financial advisor, so that your family members and loved ones can readily reach out to them with your permission. Hopefully ahead of time to kind of work with their team to get things squared away, ideally ahead of time. So that's
Yeah.
always
Both hard
important.
copy and electronically.
Yep.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
the family should have a Dropbox or something that's the equivalent, where documents can be dropped into it, and the parties that are applicable parties can add to it. This is all very, very helpful. It's very, third decade of the 21st century.
Yeah, just so we can kind of wrap this up in a nice
Yeah,
like
great.
little bow. Do you have like
Beautiful.
kind of bullet points, 1, 2, 3 things that are kind of the plan in which you'd kind of want to set up for yourself?
Yes. So, I mean, after this whole kind of, going through everything that we've discussed, is this an explicit recommendation to open a trust or to purchase some sort of long-term care insurance? No. What it is a recommendation to begin having an open and honest conversation, if you haven't, with someone that you know and you trust. No one ever sat there and said, gee, Dad or Grandpa or Mom, I'm so upset with you that you've created that estate plan and you took the time to plan this out. No one has ever said that. So, have that conversation with someone if you haven't.
So that's
And
bullet
just,
point 1, right?
yeah,
Have
no,
the
that's it. I
conversation.
mean, just have the conversation.
I'm
If you didn't have the conversation yesterday and you've never had it, but you had it today, that's a great start.
Quick dovetail that we can wrap it up. I agree with everything you said except for the soft opening. I would be a lot more stern with regard to the importance of this, and that is that back years and years ago, because I'm obviously older than everybody, much older, and back in the day when I grew up in LA, they had a place called Raleigh Hills Hospital, and they had these commercials, and it was for the treatment of alcoholism, and it said, if you don't get help from Raleigh Hills Hospital for God's sake, get help from someone. And that's always resonated with me. And that just proved the objectivity. It's like, look, we can help you, but if you don't want to go through us, go through somebody, but you need to do something. And that's how I feel about these topics. They're often overlooked until it's too late.
Mhm.
And then, yeah.
Yeah, we see it. We
It's
see it,
not good.
unfortunately,
Not
more
good.
often than we'd like to.
Yeah.
So, I would just say, so Brian, the key takeaways here are: have those honest and open conversations with your family. They might be uncomfortable, but they're incredibly necessary. Establish a trust if you feel like it's necessary. There's a lot of resources out there to figure out if a trust is right for you or not. And then ahead of time, designate who you want to be as your power of attorney, both medically and financially. They might be two different people. Most of the time, a lot of times it's the same person. But I think that's kind of what I took away from this conversation.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And one last thing,
hmm
and you're going to hear me saying this on most podcasts, and that is lean into AI. If you're not leaning into AI, you're going to be, you will surely be left behind. One of our very best clients, Barry, who's been with me literally since he was 37 or so, and he's 70 something now. I remember I was at Prudential Securities in 1994, and he said, are you on email yet? I said, I use it a little bit. He goes, oh, you have to use it regularly. It's the way forward. Well, and then that was the internet. And I mean, the evolution is incredible. And if you don't keep up with these things and stay on top of them, you'll surely be left behind. It's a moving target. And you can go into AI today, type in these questions, and you can form your own list. Okay. You can contact us, or you can go build one on AI and keep asking it questions, and it will build it. And it will say, what are the most important things that I need to do as an aging senior? I'm 60 blank years old. I'm 70 blank years old. What should I be doing? What things do I need to be aware of? And it'll build the list for you. So lean
Yeah.
into AI. I'll leave
Great.
it at
Place
that.
to start.
I love it. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you,
Good
Meg.
talk today.
Thank you, Brian. Have a great day. Have a nice weekend.
Take
Bye
care.
bye.
That's a wrap on this episode of Conquering Retirement with Annuity FYI. Ready to take control of your future? Call 1-866-223-2121 to speak with one of the guests on our show and get your questions answered today. Visit annuityfyi.com for more information and to contact us online. Follow the show and make sure to turn on notifications so that you'll never miss a tip, strategy, or breakthrough moment.